Hey, Jake.
Hey, Jake, I guess I'll lead it off here. For you, what's the mindset, I guess, or how do you shuffle from outside to inside? I mean, how do you kind of prepare each week for the different positions there?
I mean it's kind of it's a natural transition just because I played it all last year and that was the spot I was at last year, and I think being just having a good knowledge of the defense helps that out a lot as well. So
You're a guy, and we saw Kalen move to a different outside spot, and Tony has moved kind of all over the secondary. What does that do when you have a number of guys on a defense who are able to patch in for a week or however long it's got to be to maybe fill any gaps? What's that mean to the defense to have that?
I think it's just it's like really important because, like you said, like if you have guys that can be versatile, then you can have more depth, even if they're not necessarily listed at that position technically, right? So it gives you a lot more depth and more options in the back seven and the front seven as well.
Jake, congrats on a great game.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Does it feel like some things are coming together for the defense, and what are they, if so?
I mean, I think we played a lot harder, but I mean, we still have a lot. We can play even harder than we did Saturday, and I think that we still have a couple more things that we like, some different fits we can clean up. But other than that, it's hard to really get into the details of it. But I think we played a little bit better against the pass, just from, and I think that was something we did better, and I think that's major point of emphasis going forward too.
Is there a growth and trust process you have to have with each other out there, especially in defending the pass? Not in each other is who each other is as a player, but just, hey, I know where I need to be, and this guy knows where he needs to be, and I know he'll be there. Is that part of the growth for this defense?
Of course, trusting your teammates is something that you got to be able to do at all times, and I think that comes with playing with the same people, like you said, like over and over, and building that trust.
And then, were you calling plays, or is that? Forgive my ignorance. Is that always for the mic?
I really don't want to get into the details of that right now. I'm sorry. I hate but that's just something that we just keep within our defense right now.
That's fair. Last question. Nebraska. What do you know about them from scouting them so far?
They got a new quarterback out there right now, McCaffrey, and that was pretty interesting because Martinez was their guy for a pretty long time. But it'll be a good matchup, and they obviously like to get out in space. A lot of quarterback run with McCaffrey as well. They're going to try and get his legs involved, so it'll be a good one for us.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Yep, appreciate it.
Hi, Jake. How's it going? You touched on it a little bit already, but we talked to Lovie Smith this afternoon about playing you on the outside versus the inside, and he thought you have better games and play a little bit better on the outside. Do you get a different look, lining up at the Will or the Sam, and do you feel that too, that you play a little bit better on the outside?
Yeah, I think there was a lot more opportunities for me this week on the outside as well too, and I think that played into part of it. And we had a great game plan going in. Coaches put me in position to make some plays, so that kind of fell into place.
We take a look at the stats, tackling. If you look at PFF and whatnot, tackling looks a lot better this year. What would you? I think you're the number one tackler in the country on PFF. But what would you attribute that to? Is it just becoming more mature? Is it work that you did in the weight room? Is it a focus on tackling? What do you think is accounting for that?
Are you saying like just tackle like statistics or like percentage?
A fewer missed tackles. A lot less missed tackles.
Honestly, I think I would accredit that to just even just evaluating myself a little bit more after last year. I think really digging deep into something that I needed to clean up was some of the tackling out in space. And just I think it was more of that, like upon further review of games that I had last year, I think that was something that I really needed to focus on heading into the offseason, and something that I did my best to clean up. So
Can you just talk about the linebacker core in general? Last question. What are you seeing out of those guys? Seems like they had a good game last week, especially Kalen and yourself. What are you seeing from the room in general?
I mean, I think we had a lot of guys step up, like you said. Milo's out, and Kalen did a great job stepping up. So we, I think it shows that we're able to shuffle around and play different positions and be versatile, and I think that adds a lot to our linebacker room.
Thanks, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jake, thanks for doing this. First question I have is, and I know you kind of talked about not wanting to get too much into who's making the play calls and stuff, but when you're not playing the mic, how much does your maybe preparation change, or maybe not lose leadership, but how much does that kind of change when you're outside?
I would just say it's like a little bit, like you kind of just watch film a little bit differently, right? Like instead of looking at it as like, all right, I'm going to be lined up in the core right here this time, except I'm going to be out on number 2, or like think something like that. Like that would be something that you look at just a little bit differently. I think that was a major point of emphasis for me. And then kind of just being able to get a whole prep week of like getting my mind into a different mode at practice as well, I think was helpful as well.
Can you kind of take me through that process of getting your mind to kind of, I guess, flip back to being an outside linebacker last week and then knowing that you're going to be playing outside?
I think it helps to start like today. Like today's a big day where I'd kind of dive in, like I'll dive into Nebraska or dive into Rutgers like last week and kind of get my, like, watch the film and get like prepped of what type of plays you're going to get. And then getting the scout look against like our scout team and getting a good look. Our scout team's been doing a great job for us. So I think that's part of it as well. Just really focusing on things that are different, because there are times where you are in the core at the outside linebacker position, but I think for me, it was just more focused on being removed and extended in space and working on that as well and focusing on that.
Thanks, Jake.
Yep.
Hey, Jake, I just had a quick one for you. I won't reiterate the stats, but Nebraska obviously has put up a lot of yards, a lot of points against you guys the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much you've watched of their film this year, but is there anything you know about that offense that has given you guys particular troubles?
I mean, they do a great job getting it out in space and getting to their playmakers, and we just got to do a better job, play a little bit harder, and limit the third down conversions. I think will be a big one for us. And then taking the ball away, because I think we've had some success with that and against them in the past. So I think that'll be a major emphasis for this week as well.
Thanks, Jake.
Yep.
Jake, I know you go on a play-by-play basis, but love you talked with us about shutting down those big plays, the big gainers for the opposing team. In your mind, what is kind of the key to making sure some of those big plays, like the big hits to Melton last week, just don't happen often or don't really happen at all moving forward?
I think it may just playing a little bit harder, I think, is a big part of shutting down the big explosive plays. Like if they do they do make a play or make someone miss in space, and maybe if someone else is pursuing it, shuts it down, and it's like it's a minimal gain at most. But I think for that part comes down. That's the biggest part of it, I think.
Thanks, Jake.
Yep.
Jake, I just wanted to quickly ask you about Devon Witherspoon. I know he showed up late last year during camp, but is this a guy that you've seen since then in practice, and this is just kind of his time right now? I would think you've seen this kind of play in practice over and over again.
Yeah, Spoon's a baller. He's and he showed it throughout this whole off season and throughout, or not necessarily the off season, but in the prep leading up to and like during camp, and then we had that period of where we didn't really know if we were going to play or not. We're in that period when we were doing our practices, like our shortened practices. He was doing a great job and making big plays for us, and he just, it is like kind of coming to fruition, like everyone's seeing it now. So I think he's a great player.
Thanks, Jake.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Jake.